Good morning. I've made it to the beautiful city of Pokhara, alive, somehow. I arrived yesterday, and no, I didn't film the drive from Kathmandu, because nothing has changed. If anything, the road is worse. Long, dusty, exhausting, with road expansion everywhere and no finish line in sight. Then comes the Mugling to Pokhara stretch. Smooth, buttery, almost relaxing, until you realize this isn't peace. Diversions everywhere. You think it's one way, and suddenly, a huge bus is coming straight at you. So yes, it's a great drive if you stay alert. But forget the road now. We're in Pokhara. So today, we actually have nothing planned. What we came here for yesterday, done and dusted. And instead of just roaming around Pokhara like usual, we thought, why not do something different? So we're heading to the Cliff Resort. I've heard a lot about it and always wanted to see it for myself. But here's the twist. I'm not adventurous at all. And I hate heights, which makes this interesting because the cliff is famous for one thing above all, bungee jumping. Located in Kushma, Parbat district, the cliff, also known as the Cliff Nepal, is a popular adventure destination sitting right above a dramatic gorge. From Pokhara, it's about 57 to 60 kilometers, roughly a 2 to 3 hour drive, depending on traffic and road conditions. The route follows the Baglung Parbat Highway, winding through scenic hills before dropping us straight into adventure territory. I'm here to explore, not to jump. At least, that's what I'm telling myself. Early morning lakeside feels almost unreal. Fua Lake lies still, perfectly mirroring the sky. Cafes are just starting to wake, and the air is cool, damp, and quiet. We roll out of the city on smooth blacktop. Traffic moves slowly, calmly, unhurried, familiar. One last glance in the rearview mirror. If the sky is clear, the Annapurna Range makes a gentle appearance. And there it is, fishtail, sharp, sacred, unmistakable. It doesn't demand attention. It simply watches silently, almost like a blessing as you leave. Mostly paved and well-maintained, the road is smooth and inviting, especially compared to many other hill routes in Nepal. The drive here is simply awesome. Right in front of you, the big, snow-capped mountains rise majestically. They're not overwhelming or distracting, just soothing, peaceful, and utterly pleasing. I'm not sure my camera does them justice, but if you're seeing this through my eyes, you'd feel the full scale, the range, the sheer presence of these peaks. Beyond the view, driving this section is a joy. You can spot new patches of road here and there as construction continues in a few sections. Maybe in the coming days, the entire expansion will be complete, but even now, the journey is a treat. The viral road people talk about in and around Hemja is a section of the Pokhara Baglung Highway, just northwest of Pokhara city. It has gained immense popularity online. Social media reels often feature it under tags like Pokhara Viral Road and Hemja Road, showing cars and bikes gliding effortlessly with mountains as the backdrop. For cars and motorcycles, this section feels almost like a city bypass, flat, predictable, and safe, especially when compared to the steeper, more winding hillside roads further west. Even local buses and heavier vehicles move smoothly without the constant braking. But here's the twist. While the road itself drives beautifully, the markings and lane lines have mostly faded. Watching it in videos, Everything seems perfect: pristine asphalt, clear lanes, effortless curves. In reality, your experience is slightly different. As you cruise along this stretch near Hemja, the immediate surroundings are lush green hills, agricultural terraces, and patches of forest. The air feels fresher, and the valley opens intermittently to reveal distant mountains. On a clear day, the road is framed by broad Himalayan foothills. The Annapurna Range rises quietly beyond the nearer hills. Peaks like Fishtail and Annapurna South are a bit farther north and more dramatic from viewpoints like Sarankit or Lakeside, but you can still catch glimpses of snowy ridges emerging over green valleys as you drive. In short, the Hemja Road is truly impressive to drive, and it deserves the attention it gets online. But there's a subtle difference between the polished perfection you see in videos and the nuanced reality of the road. We all know how the highways are in Nepal, but imagine this. Roads like these with proper markings, smooth tarmac, and streetlights guiding the way. Believe me, traveling wouldn't feel like a task anymore. It would feel like freedom. Why fly? Flights are just about the destination. Blink and you're there. But driving is about the journey, especially if you're a driving enthusiast. You stop when the mountains call you. You slow down for the curves, for the rivers, for the views that don't exist on a boarding pass. You take your time. Breathe in the moment, then move on. But for that magic to happen, road infrastructure needs to be top-notch. Safe highways, clear markings, proper lighting, roads that invite you to explore, not test your patience. Let's hope the coming days bring better highways across the country, because Nepal isn't meant to be rushed. It's meant to be driven. And then come the real winding roads of Nepal. This is where the mountains start to feel alive. The trees lean close to the road, the hills rise sharply on either side, and the curves seem endless. Driving the stretch feels a lot like the Siddhartha Highway from Pokhara to Palpa. Sharp hairpin turns, dense green forests, and towering hills all around. Every bend keeps you on your toes, reminding you that this is mountain driving at its finest. I came into this section expecting the worst. I imagined potholes everywhere, dust kicking up into my face, and visibility so poor I'd be guessing at every corner. But to my surprise, the road is actually quite good. Smooth stretches open up, inviting you to drive comfortably, letting you relax just a little, until suddenly they don't. The road is good, smooth, silent, and there's barely any traffic. For a moment, something inside you whispers, press the accelerator. Let the speed climb past 100. But then another voice answers. A quieter one, more mature. Why rush? Why push harder? When there's nowhere you need to be and no time chasing you. This journey isn't about arrival. It's about control, about respect, for the road, for the moment, for yourself. So I ease into a steady cruise. 80 kilometers an hour, enough to feel the motion, not enough to risk the magic, because some roads aren't meant to be conquered. They're meant to be enjoyed. But it's not just the road that keeps you alert, it's everything around it. The forest presses close, with sunlight filtering in between the leaves, creating shifting shadows that make the surface hard to read. The hills rise dramatically, folds of green so deep and muscular you can feel their weight as you drive alongside them. Rivers cut through valleys below, their waters sparkling in patches of sunlight, rushing between jagged rocks. Birds occasionally swoop across your path, and if you glance up, the sky stretches vast and open above these rolling mountains. Driving here is a test of patience and skill. The mountains don't forgive mistakes, but they reward focus. Every sharp hairpin, every sudden dip or rough patch feels like a reminder of why this is considered one of the most thrilling drives. Even as you encounter the tricky sections, there's a rhythm to it. The way the road negotiates with the terrain, curving, rising, and falling along the hillsides. You can almost feel the hands that carved it, patiently shaping each turn into the mountainside. And then there are the surprises that come from the road itself. Sections of new, patchy asphalt appear, evidence of ongoing construction. In a few spots, road crews are working. You weave past them, carefully adjusting your speed. These patches are a stark reminder that the mountains are alive, constantly changing, and that the road, no matter how smooth, is temporary in comparison to their scale. Yet, despite all the challenges, there's an incredible pleasure in this drive. The combination of smooth stretches and sudden obstacles keeps you fully present, fully engaged. You can't drift into autopilot here. You have to watch, anticipate, react. And when you finally get a long, straight stretch, it feels like a small reward. Every sudden bad patch, every unexpected dip has tested your focus. And yet, the mountains, the curves, and the forest leave you with a sense of awe, reminding you why driving in Nepal is never just about getting from point A to B. It's about experiencing every inch of the journey. Even after all the hairpin turns, the sudden rough patches, and the moments of full concentration, there's a satisfaction in arriving at the destination. You've conquered the road, but more importantly, you've been part of it, immersed in its rhythm, its surprises, and its raw, natural beauty. Mountain driving at its finest doesn't just challenge you. It rewards you in ways you can only feel while on the wheel, surrounded by hills that rise and fall endlessly, forests that seem to breathe, and curves that will stay with you long after the journey ends. I'm not a professional car reviewer, and I don't claim to have all the technical expertise, but I want to share my honest experience driving my Kia Sonet. This is my second trip outside Kathmandu, and the car has performed better than I expected. One of the biggest advantages, especially for Nepalese roads, is the 205mm ground clearance. Potholes, uneven patches, and rough sections are common here, but the Sonet handles them with confidence. Another thing that really stands out is its road presence. Even though it's a compact SUV, it feels stable and confident on the road. Driving through winding mountain roads or navigating city traffic, the car doesn't feel small or fragile. It sits well, gives a sense of control, and commands enough attention from other drivers to feel safe. You notice it on the road, and that's important when driving in hilly, narrow sections where every bit of confidence counts. That said, there are areas where it could improve. The car is a bit underpowered, so overtaking requires careful planning and downshifting, especially on steep hills. It's not a speed demon, but with some calculation, it manages the terrain without stress. Comfort is good. Luggage space is ample, and the seating is comfortable. Even on long drives, it doesn't tire you. Night driving is decent, but I would personally prefer LED headlights over the halogen bulbs for better visibility. Mileage is another interesting point. On the highway, the Sonet delivers well, but when it comes to hilly, winding roads, the fuel efficiency naturally drops as expected. Overall, I'm satisfied. I don't need every extra feature, and for the price I paid, this car gives reliable performance, comfort, and confidence on the road. So with that said, let's hit the road and see how it handles real mountain driving. This is my honest review, based on experience, not a professional evaluation, but for someone like me who want a dependable car with strong road presence and capable performance. The Kia Sonet has been a solid so far. Reaching the cliff was already quite an adventure. We parked the car, and to my surprise, there was a ticketing system in place. I hadn't even checked the prices for the bungee, the giant swing, or the accommodations. But to enter the premises, we had to cross a suspension bridge. The ticket cost 500 rupees per person, which included either one free activity or a food set. Since we'd come all the way from Pokhara, we decided to go for it. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not a fan of heights, and now I had to walk across a suspension bridge. From up there, the river below looked tiny, almost unreal. To my surprise, the bridge was solid, rigid, and much steadier than other suspension bridges I've crossed. It barely swayed under my feet, instantly easing some of my nerves. The safety measures were impressive too, giving me more confidence than I expected. At first, I doubted myself. How was I going to cross such a long bridge? But step by step, that fear began to fade, replaced by a quiet, growing confidence. I made one rule for myself: look straight ahead, not side to side, definitely not down. And with each step forward, the bridge seemed less daunting and more exhilarating. Finally, we reached the cliff premises. A wave of relief washed over me. I had made it across the bridge, but in reality, the place wasn't exactly like the videos I'd seen. Still, I was glad to be there. People were busy with all sorts of adventure activities, rock climbing, swings, and more, but I had no plans to try any of them. I just wanted to enjoy the view, relax, and grab some food. A cup of coffee I'd been craving for so long. I noticed most visitors trying their hand at the rock climb. A family caught my eye. First, the mother took on the climb and reached the top. Then it was her 8-year-old son's turn. I doubted he could make it, but to my amazement, he climbed all the way up too, with just a little help from the operator. That courage, that determination, hats off to the little guy. Finally, it was time for the food and the cup of coffee I had been craving. Before settling down, I wandered around the premises to capture some photos and videos. The property looked great, and I was tempted to peek into the rooms, but a sign said private, and I didn't want to go against the rules. These were accommodations where guests paid to stay, after all. When I finally sat down to eat, the food was delicious, though I couldn't tell if it was truly the taste or just my hunger making everything taste amazing. Either way, it hit the spot perfectly. There wasn't much left to do, so we decided to head back. Crossing the suspension bridge this time felt surprisingly easy. No fear, no hesitation. I walked across like it was nothing. Right in the middle of the bridge, there was a platform for bungee jumping and swings. I could see the operators briefing people, tightening harnesses, and getting them ready to leap. Honestly, I've never been into stuff like that. I just took a quick look and was ready to move on. But then we stopped. someone was about to jump. And I thought, why not watch? You don't get to see moments like this, live and up close, every day. Still, one question kept running through my mind. How do people find the courage to jump from heights like this? Paying money just to launch yourself into thin air. Maybe it's their way of testing fate. As for me, not a chance. Just standing on a suspension bridge and looking down at the drop, where people jump was enough to make my head spin. Even if someone offered to pay me, I'd politely decline. No way. While waiting, we chatted with a local crossing the bridge. One thing I noticed, the cliff seems to allow local villagers access to the bridge. Maybe some internal arrangement, but the locals genuinely seemed happy, enjoying the view and the experience. Then came the jump. It all happened so fast I could barely capture any clips. And just like that, it was done. We crossed the rest of the bridge, reached the parking area, and thought about stopping for a local lunch on the way back to Pokhara. Unfortunately, we couldn't find a suitable spot, so we just took a short coffee break before continuing. The actual lunch we had later in Pokhara's lakeside.